It is I, Dreads and Breads, and we're back at it with the Warhammer preview show for Las Vegas Open 2025. This is something I missed, so we're going to go back and do it. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dreads and Breads. I watch these and then I try to break them up so people can find the parts they're interested more easily over on YouTube. The last last one that we did of this, the Adepticon 2025, made me very, very, very salty. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. These two guys here were very smug and condescending. There was a lot of kind of backhanded comments from both of them, and kind of subtle insinuating that how dare you ask these questions, you dum-dums. And it's very clear to me after watching these guys for a while, they're not actually hobbyists. These guys are just paid faces for PR. That's all they are at the end of the day. The guy above me in the flannel, the last stream, he just came off as super condescending. Nick, the guy over there with the goofy face, he pretty much, he did something you should never ever do. I'm gonna close that off. Whoa, no. So somebody asked at the end of the last one about Armageddon, because that's going to be where the new campaign is for the narrative stuff. Somebody asked about Yorick, if Yorick could possibly come back. And he just laughed. He laughed the question off. And that's kind of a dick thing to do, especially with a beloved character that a lot of people are not satisfied on what happened to that character. And not to mention, GW has brought back dead characters in the past multiple times. Excuse me, I gotta... For example, not too long ago, they brought back a character that died from the old world. I don't remember his name. He was the Prince of Mirrors, if I remember correctly. He was an old world guy that was favored by Slaanesh. His armor would be super polished and everything, and he was like the best swordsman around. But Slaanesh basically got bored with him, and then this other guy came along, which was this big troll king that Tzeentch kind of gave him big brain power. And this dude, the troll king, got insulted by Pretty Boy. And the troll king basically, when Pretty Boy wasn't looking, brained him with his giant ass hammer, then peed on him and said, "Who's ugly now?" and left him to die. And then years later, they brought him back in a new form. You know, but I mean, just laughing off a serious question someone had and like implying that they're dumb for even asking that. That's something a fellow hobbyist wouldn't do. They'd be like, sadly he's not, but it would have been really cool maybe if GW did bring him back. Maybe he comes back from the dead for a bit to fight off Angron or something. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, this guy, well, I don't know if you can actually see my mouse cursor. You can't right now. But let's hit play.
Folks, and welcome to the Warhammer preview. My name's Nick.
Yeah, so Alex right here, very, very condescending. This guy, very, very much a douchebag. I do not care for either of these guys. Again, I was not happy with the Adepticon. Very not good. Very, very, very not good. They lost the rule of cool. Everything has just been kind of watered down. Models are for everyone, and that makes it so the models are for no one. The Tyranid models were horrible. Very horrible. I will try to be less salty about this one. I know there's Emperor's Children in this and some other things, but let's see what they've got to show off.
Nick, this is Alex, and we're going to be your guides through the next hour or so of wonderful new stuff to look at. Now, the Las Vegas Open is taking place in Nevada right now as we speak. If you're there at the event, we hope you're having a wonderful time. But Alex, we've got some seriously good stuff to look at, right?
We do indeed. We've got stuff from Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000, Necromunda, and the Old World.
Ooh.
But that's enough from us. We've got a reveal now that I am incredibly excited for.
Gonna have to mute the music because I'll get an ID claim. Let's see, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Release the Dead March 4th. No, the Restless Dead March 4th. Okay, so we've seen these guys before, Barrow. So these guys actually came in the Cursed City set, and it's very cool that these guys are now getting their own set. I very much like undead guys. I'm very disappointed that there is no more vampire counts or vampire lords anymore. I mean, there is a vampire faction, but they don't really have a whole lot of vampires like they used to. And I just like undead. The undead are really cool. I like that guy right there. He says, "Bring him forward so I may stab him, stab him." And then this dude, oh, this dude can't speak. He's missing his bottom jaw. He can't eat pizza. It just goes right through him, chat. And that guy needs to see a dentist. His jaw's a little bit off. But I do love the kite shields and the old rounded shields. Very, very nice. Let's get into it. So we've got Barrow. Awesome. The Living Show. A horde. Something. Okay, so we've got them on cavalry. Ooh, Barrow Knights. A gruesome honor guard. What do we got here? Oh. Oh my god. I just wanted to get his White King on Skeletal Steed. Very nice. Soulblight Gravelords.
It's a beautiful box for the Soulblight Gravelords.
It really is.
So this is the Death Rattle army set. As you can see, it is skeleton heavy.
It is. I bet you're a happy chappy right now.
I am very
Inside
happy.
the box, we've got the brand new White Lord and or King on the skeletal steed leading the...
I like that. It's very, very hard to mess up skeletons. I will say that. But GW kind of has with some of their stuff. But I like these. These are very, very nice looking models. Lately, my biggest gripe with GW and anything animal related is so far the animal sculpts have been really, really bad. If you look at the new Space Wolf sculpts with the fairness, whatever, however you say them, wolves they come with, they look very derpy and like they've been inbreded, and they've got this really kind of derpy comical look to them, and they're not supposed to. If you look at some of the old world stuff with the new horse sculpts and everything, they look, it's the same thing. The horses looked very compact, very weird and goofy looking. The paint jobs don't do the model any justice, but here we go. So I do like the undeaded. I do like the skeletal horses and the guys on them. Very, very nice. So I believe that is the king, and then that might be the Wraith Guard guy.
Force there. Lots of the new Barrow Guard and the new Barrow Knights as well. There's 20 Barrow Guard and 5 Barrow Knights in the box. Of course, this box contains the Battle Tome, the War Scroll cards, what you've come to expect.
I did want to pause on that guy because I love this model here. That is very cool. The guy blowing the horn. Very, very nice. Very cool.
Really so cool, this box. And Al, tell me about it, man. What's your favourite part of this?
I think it's going to have to be that White King.
He's so cool. We'll come to him in a second. But first of all, who are the Barrow Guard?
Right. So the Barrow Guard, these guys are basically the White King or the White Lord's bodyguard, and they're slain at the time of his death, knowingly or not, willingly or not. They're then interred with him, and so when the curse strikes and he's risen, they come with him.
These are a fantastic set of miniatures. There's 10 models per kit. You get 20 of them in the Death Rattle Army set.
That's not bad.
You can make the banner, the champion, the musician as you normally can. Now, if you already play Soulblight Gravelords and you have Grave Guard in your force, then this unit, the Barrow Guard, are simply a replacement inside the book for that unit. So you can use your Grave Guard models as these if you'd like to. These ones can be armed with both a sword and a shield, or you can see some at the back there with a big double-handed axe as well. They're really...
If you do have Cursed City, these guys would also be nice to pick up. Pick them up and maybe just sub these guys in as proxy, so you've got some different variations.
We call these guys super armored skeletons, the elite skeletons, as if such a thing is possible. And in game, they can deliver crit mortal wounds with their weapons and protect nearby heroes as well. So elite bodyguards for heroes. They're pretty cool, right?
Indeed, and thinking of elite Death Rattle units, we've also got the Barrow Knights. So these guys are basically the nobles of the Barrow Kingdoms. They were buried alongside their horses, so when they've risen...
Like his shield a lot. That's very cool. I like the shields. And I like that they give homage to the old undead with the bat wings. Very cool.
They've taken them back. They've retained a little bit more of their sentience than the average death rattle, so they've got some of the little quirks from life. So after battle, they have a habit of grabbing banners and trinkets from the battlefield as trophies.
I love this model. I don't know why. I just do. I think it's got. I don't know. There's just something about it. It's really cool. It draws my eye.
I like these. Basically, skeletons with a bit of a personality, essentially. Yeah. I like that a lot. This, again, box set has 5 models in the box. They make a champion musician and standard in there as well. And again, if you've got Black Knights in your force already, these are a sort of almost a replacement for those. So you can use your Black Knights as these, or use these new models if you'd like to as well. Heavily armored cavalry that can protect a local cavalry hero as well, which is pretty cool. And they've got a rule called Cursed to Rise, where you can just bring models back to the unit with no dice rolls required, which is really cool. So these guys just don't die. Again, I guess. But who we got leading the force?
Indeed. So this is the centerpiece model from that Death Rattle box. This is the White King. So these guys were the rulers of the Barrow kingdoms, and when they're buried, it tended to be in opulence. They might have a sarcophagus of gold or on a grape.
Just notice he's got a little buddy there. Very nice. I do wish the pose was a little bit different, though. I mean, it's a decent model, but just the generic pose on the horse, I really wish they would do, a little bit more than what we've seen so far with guys on horses so far.
Bone chair, that kind of thing, buried alongside their bodyguards. They were grim, very warlike sort of kingdoms. So these guys have an awful lot of will. So it takes a very powerful vampire to kind of take control of them. And as we'll talk about in a bit when we look at the battle tome, you can now field entire armies of death rattle skeletons led by these guys.
It's so cool. The king, of course, there is one of the 2 options. It can also make the White Lord as well, sort of maybe a lesser rank of a skeleton hero. On the tabletop, the king is a little bit more powerful and can bestow ancient Barrow curses upon your enemies, which is terrifying, whereas the Lord is more of a leader for your cavalry, so he bestows a few benefits onto cavalry units in your army. So if you want to have a whole army of cavalry, this is the guy you want leading it if you wanted it.
Now, these aren't the only leaders coming for the Soulblight Gravelords, are they? Here we are, Prince Valdry, Master of the Crimson Keep. Now, Prince Valdry is back from the Age of Myth. He's not been Nagash's favourite the whole time. He was, after a rebellion, he was cursed to basically be bound to the Crimson Keep, which...
Very nice. This is a remaster of an older model. Very, very nice. Very cool. I love this ridiculously long dragon lance that he has. This evil-looking lance. The undead dragon's alright. It's okay looking. I do like the older dragons better. The undead ones. I hope I can still get those because I wanted to get some of the undead dragon pieces and stuff for one of my Imperial Knights. And just kind of kit bash that stuff in there, as trophies, or just put it on the weapons and whatnot.
Was torn out of time and space, and so it appears randomly across the realms. However, as you'll find out in the battle tome, it has been appearing in places Nagash didn't necessarily want it. So there's definitely something going on here. Now, this model is absolutely spectacular.
It's huge as well. It's on a 160 mil base, which is monstrous.
That is big.
So much bigger than the previous incarnation of the model.
Yep.
It was so cool to see, and what a centerpiece model it is as well.
Oh, yes.
That lance is almost as tall as the Revenant Draconith he sits upon, named Shordmare. Am I right?
It is. So Shordmare was the first Draconith to sort of dabble in necromancy. Attempted to raise a load of other Draconith. Didn't go particularly well. All kind of backfired, and he ended up undead himself.
Just a beautiful, beautiful model. And of course, the model being a bit bigger means on the tabletop he's got a little bit tougher. His health's gone up to 18, which makes him even harder to kill than he previously was. But just an incredible centerpiece for your Soulblight collection. But that's not the only model that comes in that kit. If you wanted to, you could also build this, the Revenant Draconith, which is essentially a huge sort of zombified dragon, but without a rider on the back.
Yes, indeed. So these are fairly rare. Whilst Nagash and Shordmare did attempt to raise a number of them, Grondis and Karazai did not take well to that and hunted them down. And so if you're a vampire lord in need of something incredibly hard-hitting,
it's all right looking shit.
One of these, you best bring a lot of meat,
It's all right. It's okay. It doesn't really wow me though. It doesn't really have that. I don't know. It's okay. He's just kind of meh.
And a lot of willpower to kind of control them. But there's an element whenever they roar, apparently, that is almost lonesome. Like there's a memory of who they used to be locked in there.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. There's on the tabletop, these can fly high. Warhammer players from yesteryear might remember flying high, and this Revenant Dragon can do that off the battlefield and then come down later on, striking down if it wants to, and can keep doing that throughout the game, which is really cool. It's a terrifying thing to face, and we'll come on to the book later on. But I wanted to point out that one of the regiments in the one of the regiments of renown in the battle tome is called the Beast of Castle Stenesti, which allows you to take a Revenant Draconith in any Death army. So you want one of these in your Ossiarch or your Nighthawk force, or your Flesh Eaters, you go for it. It's a really cool thing that all Death players can have a go at. It's really, really cool. Right, well, we mentioned the Battle Tome. Let's have a look at that. What can we expect from the Battle Tome?
Books.
So, the Battle Tome is, as we can see from that box set at the start, is highly focused on the Barrow Kingdoms and the Death Rattle Skeletons. And
I do like the art. I like that dude. He's just looking at you like, ooh, I'm gonna get you.
as I said before, it allows you to field an entire army just of skeletons. However, that's not all that's in it.
That's your main focus.
Well, I love skeletons. But yes, so we've got all the background, all the lore, all the armies, as you said, the regiments of renown. One of my favourite parts of it is that it continues the lore of the vampires and how the Soulblight have kind of reacted to the Hour of Ruin, which they refer to as the Time of Blood. So, sorry, the Time of Vile Blood, probably because of all Skaven. Not that tasty.
Fair enough. As normal, and in the Battle Tome, we've come to expect so everything from battle formations, trait enhancements, spell laws, everything you might expect to see. What's really exciting is that for the first time in a long time, we've got new faction terrain and manifestations for the Soulblight Gravelords. But we're not going to show those quite yet. You have to watch out for those in the near future. There are 4 new battle formations in the book, including my favourites, the Death Stench Drove, which is all about having a horde of zombies go across the table. The Path to Glory lets you follow the path of either a vampire or a non-vampire hero. And there's 2 armies, of renown in there. The Knights of the Crimson Keep and the Barrow Legion, your favourite one, all about the skeletons, which is cool. And the 2 regiments of renown, which lets you take that Revenant Draconith, and one which, again, we're going to keep secret for now. There's more coming on that later on. But yeah, absolutely fantastic book, as always, from the studio.
And also in the Battle Tome is the new Spearhead, the Death Rattle Tomb host, focusing on those Death Rattle skeletons once more. Now, this.
So these guys are from Cursed City, right here. These guys here. This guy is an older model. I don't know if he's still around or not. Let's see here. Yipperoo. Sorry, I don't really have much to say because I don't really play Age of Sigmar. I don't really play this stuff.
This isn't a replacement for the Bloodgrave Hunt, which is still legal. It just means you're getting an extra spearhead. So
you're going to get to paint a second spearhead for your force. This time, a real skeleton crew, right?
That's implying that I've only got 1 spearhead so far.
So with spearheads are smaller armies, and they're basically trying to get you to build smaller armies for faster play. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people like the bigger armies, which you can still do, but I don't think you can do that for tournament play though. Competitive.
Well, that's the game. We've got the new spearhead on the way. It's not going to be coming alongside the release. It's going to be a little bit later, so you may have to raise them from dead a little bit after the release. But
that's kind of stupid. They should go hand in hand instead of having to wait. But at the same time, I can see why they might want to wait, just in case there's issues with scalpers and whatnot. Because that's always an issue. There's no denying that. Every time a new book or rule book comes out, you've got people that buy them by the dozens, and then they go over to eBay and they sell them for ridiculous amounts with ridiculous amount of shipping attached to them and stuff, and it's just so stupid. I remember, I think it was 8th edition, somebody was selling the box for, I think it was like 500 USD, but then you also had to spend $300 on shipping. It was ridiculous.
We've also got a novel from Black Library coming as well, haven't we?
We do indeed. This is the Masters of Death Omnibus by David Annandale, and it brings together a number of his stories: Neferata, Mortarch of Blood, Neferata, Dominion of Bones, Dynasty of Monsters, a Soulblight Gravelords novel.
Dynasty of the Monsters wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that great either.
As well as 3 shorts the Threshold, Obsidian, the Dance with Skulls. So this is basically your gateway into the sort of the background and the narrative of the Soulblight.
So, Alex, speaking of Black Library, it's time to talk a little bit about this year's Black Library celebration.
Alrighty, so with that, chat, that is going to end that part of the VOD for over on YouTube. I know I didn't talk a whole lot. I do like skeletons and stuff, but Age of Sigmar in fantasy is really not what got me into Warhammer or GW, the IP. It was the sci-fi stuff. I do really like some of the fantasy stuff, the older fantasy stuff, not like not what they've recently come out with, because what has been recently been shown off is just very sterilized fantasy models that are for everybody, and that makes them for nobody. They lack the rule of cool. They're just kind of meh in there. Anyway, bye peoples of YouTube. I'm sorry if I'm still salty, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this stuff anymore. Bye bye.